come in and it just opens itself to you. You can hardly wait to get through the entry process so you can begin to explore.
The first moment upon coming in, I sensed the spaciousness and the light.
There's a traditional view of art museums that they're, private places to hang art where very few can come and see it, and there's just a complete different approach here.
You really have to go back to the founding of the city to tell the whole story. And a whole series of arts associations were being formed by citizens, many of them connected with Puget Sound University.
There was a woman named Ida Cochran, and Ida was the head of the art department at the College of Puget Sound. And she had this dream of forming a gallery or creating a gallery or a museum for Tacoma.
And it came really to a culmination, I think, in 1935 when Professor Melvin Kohler started what was then called the Tacoma Art Association, later the Tacoma Art League. The first exhibition was of Northwest artists, in fact, to be followed in the very same year by an exhibition of Peruvian textiles. And only a year later, a fantastic Japanese woodblock print exhibition was shown. And a year later, an exhibition of Cézanne. I think what was interesting was from the very beginning, the Tacoma Art Museum had a commitment to both local Northwest regional artists as well as a global scope.
The Aloha Club is a private women's organization, which is one of the oldest arts organizations west of the Mississippi. They were founded in 1892. They've given 49 total works, including a fantastic Imogen Cunningham photograph from 1934.
In 1958, we moved from that location. We decided we wanted to strike out on our own, and we rented a space, a gallery, at 742 Broadway, downtown Tacoma. It was not a huge success. '64, we moved to another interesting location, and that was the old City Hall. And we were located in the old jail.
And it was kind of strange and folksy and nice and wonderful, and people would come and look at the exhibits.
Of course, the wonderful thing was when the Murrays gifted the bank to the museum.
My mother was very interested in art. I'm not sure that my father ever was particularly, but he was very fond of his wife.
And she said, I'd like to have a place to hang our paintings. And she meant by our, the community.
I think Mr. and Mrs. Murray were responsible for hiring John, and he was a dynamo.
He did some outstanding work and really laid a solid groundwork.
He had only two people, a janitor and sort of an all-purpose man, and he was everywhere.
I was hired in the summer of 1990 to be the senior curator, or exhibitions curator at this museum. As I look back, it was an extraordinary time. The city downtown was really beginning a surge of revitalization efforts. University of Washington Tacoma opened the year before I began.
We were lucky. It worked out. The timing was wonderful. The fact that the Goodwill Games were here.
In 1997, the Cattle and Masters show was a huge success. I mean, I remember there were blocks of people waiting to get in the museum. And then a year later, she arranged to have a Picasso ceramics show.
And that only led to the obvious next step. We're better than this building. We need a new home badly.
I'll never forget Alan Little said, I see us with a new museum down near the waterfront with a view of Mount Rainier. And it just blew everyone away because at that point in time we were trying to figure out how to make the old museum work better, that building that we had, because it had limitations.
Almost from the time I started, there was talk of a new museum. I always credit Bill Street with being the driving force behind that.
It's a community art collection. Everything you do is for the community.
The challenge for me was to fulfill the board's mandate, to really throw the museum's door open, to really deliver on the promise of what we could do with this new building. And not only is it a great home for art, but it's a wonderful space for all kinds of events. And that really means that we are open to having high school proms, college homecomings, or our first ever naturalization ceremony, when people become American citizens. It's a different vision of what a museum is.
The art museum brings a holistic approach and feeling to the Tacoma community, that we understand the industrial part. But the softer side, the more appreciative side, the more inspirational side, the side that causes us to imagine, is what the art museum brings in pulling that whole community circle together.
I really believe that art makes a difference in individual lives and in our collective lives.
Tacoma is not Seattle, and that's a good thing. We're an orbital city to Seattle, but that gives us a lot of room to be a little bit more experimental.
We really believe that art changes lives, and so part of the mission at the Tacoma Art Museum is to offer this as a safe haven to discuss things that we deal with as humans.